15 points. What is your reaction to that?
I don't know. I didn't hear about it. Somebody ran where?
In Texas, special election for legislative seat.
9th state Senate seat.
I'm not involved in that. That's a local Texas race. You mean I won by 17 and this person lost? Things like that happen.
Does it worry you about
Yeah, but it was pretty humiliating. And actually, it was humiliating about it is the tactics that the Republicans use. All right. So let me go ahead and bring this up for you guys. This is what happened. Now, some people are trying to say, oh, the election was stolen and all this wild stuff. But no, not really. You guys split the ballot. Guys, check this out. They split the ballot. They literally put 2 Republicans on the same ballot. And then it split the vote. So let's say my man John Huffman wasn't there. Then she would have 62,000 votes, thus winning the Senate seat. But now we got to wait to November to get this Senate seat back now that John Huffman knows he has no chance of winning. But apparently the Republicans took the risk on splitting the vote. They felt that confident, and this is what happened. So that's why they lost. It's not because Democrats are just so popular. It's because the Republicans in Texas were just that effing stupid. And I'm sorry I got to criticize my own party like that because, well, I'm going to be real with you. That was pretty stupid. Like, why? Yeah, I didn't have to low-key shoot yourselves in the foot like that, but you did. So, yeah, this is the main reason why, what was it? It was the Texas 18th District Senate Seat 9. This is why it turned out like that, guys. It's not because of ICE, the way, the Dems are going to try to spin it. It's mainly because these guys were dumb enough to run, well, as you see, they were dumb enough to run 2 Republicans on the same ticket. And they got too cocky. I mean, let's admit it. They got way too cocky and they lost. And they deserved to lose if they thought, like, yeah, we're just going to split the vote and somehow still win. It is what it is. I mean, look, here's the cope right here. Let's get on to the full-on cope of it because it was crazy.
I'm not involved in that. That's a local Texas race. You mean I won by 17 and this person lost?
What the heck?
Things like that happen. I'm not on the ballot, so you don't know whether or not it's transferable. But you put the Democrats in, you'll end up with open borders again. You'll end up with crime all over the place.
President Trump warning Republicans after a Texas Democrat flips a state Senate district blue for the first time in more than 30 years. Here with what this means for the...
I know, because in the first time in 3 years, these dudes thought it was smarter to run 2 Republicans on the same ballot, thus splitting the vote. I mean, y'all couldn't, like, I don't know, come to a middle ground and be like, yeah, well, obviously this lady's more popular, so let's not split the vote here. But yes, there was a third person in this, and they decided to split the vote between the Republicans, and I have no idea why, but this is why they lost. Idiots. You
don't know whether or not it's transferable. I'm not on the ballot, so you don't know whether or not it's transferable. But, you put the Democrats in, you'll end up with open borders again. You'll end up with crime all over the place. We have no crime anymore. And, I mean, think of it. The country is the lowest crime it's had in 125 years. In recorded history, the year 1900. That's a long time ago. So it's very good. No, I don't know anything about it. I didn't know. I mean, I know there's a race going there, and it's too bad. What can I say? I have nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Sir, what do you want out of a Cuba deal?
I mean, yeah, like I said, some Republicans are trying to say, oh, election fraud. No. It was just a stupid strategy to try to run 2 Republicans on the same ballot, acting like y'all wasn't about to split the vote. Like, y'all risked it. And I mean, y'all got too cocky.
Well, Cuba's a failing nation. It has been for a long time, but now it doesn't have Venezuela to prop it up. So we're talking to the people from Cuba, the highest people in Cuba, to see what happens. I want the people that came here that were horribly treated by Cuba to be taken care of, to be able to go back and do what they have to do. They have their family there. They haven't been able to see them in years, many, many years. So I think we're going to make a deal with Cuba.
President Trump back?
Yeah, we're going to make a deal with Cuba because not only did we cut off their oil from Venezuela, but we got Mexico to cut their oil off from sending their oil to Cuba as well. And these people are already going through a fuel crisis. So now that we got two of their biggest suppliers cutting them off, I mean, they really have no choice but to make a deal. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when it comes to Venezuela, I mean, it's ours now. Like it or not, Venezuela's is ours now.
It's in bad shape. Cuba's in bad shape. Cuba has a humanitarian
Do
problem.
you have any plans to endorse in that Senate race? Has your mind
Which
changed
Senate
at all?
race?
In Texas, the GOP
I'm
primary.
giving it very serious thought. You know, my problem is I'm friendly with all of them. Those are the hard ones. I like all of them, all three. But you'll be seeing soon. Okay? They say whoever I endorse wins. That's probably right.
Do you support all federal Border Patrol agents and ICE wearing body cams?
We'll be talking about that in the near future. Okay?
What about
But you saw my note that I put out yesterday. That was I think it was pretty conclusive. Look, we stopped crime in our country and the border is the best it's ever been. Thank you very much.
Man, here's the crazy part. Venezuela has completely given over control of their oil to the United States. So mainly be giving it to United States, companies, in the United States. And now we have the biggest oil reserves in the world. I know, right? Like overnight, we have the biggest oil reserves in the world because of what we did in Venezuela. So we'll see what comes of that. But the world has been flipped on its head economic wise. Like we'll see what happens. But all right, though, let's get over to this, tragic mistake that the Republicans made in Texas. The fools.
A Texas Democrat flips a state Senate district blue for the first time in more than 30 years. Here with what this means for the GOP ahead of the midterms, Fox News contributor and former Congressman Jason Chaffetz. Jason, good morning to you. So this is a Fort Worth area Texas state Senate seat, which is now blue for the first time since 1992. And the Wall Street Journal puts it this way. How does a Republican lose by 14 points in a safe conservative Texas state Senate seat?
I'll tell you, this is how a Republican loses by 14 points when they do dumb shit like this. When you sit there and you have two Republicans on the same ballot, that's how you lose by 14 points. Now, take out John Hoffman and of course the other Republicans would have just voted for this lady, and then she'd have won. But for some strange reason, they thought they just had it in the bag, guys. They had nothing to worry about. They were wrong. Like I said, I mean, they were too cocky. They thought it was just a race between Republicans, and they forgot about the Democrat.
That President Trump carried by 17 points in 2024. Answer: when there's a voter backlash against the Trump administration, notably its mass deportation debacle. So do you believe the Wall Street Journal is true, and this could be a warning sign for Republicans come midterms?
No, that's a garbage analysis. If they go back and look at it, what happened in November is you had two Republicans and then you also had a Democrat. Nobody got the majority, so they did a runoff. And then this runoff happens. There's super bad weather there. There are 25,000 less people that get out and vote, and the Democrat squeaks by. It had nothing to do.
So instead of holding yourselves accountable and just saying, I'm gonna be real with you, look, one of them should have stepped down. The most popular one should have stayed in the race, which was the young lady, and the guy, John Huffman or Josh Huffman, whatever his name is, he should have bowed out. Like, bro, hold yourselves accountable. Stop sitting there making excuses like the weather. It's like, are you serious? No. You ran the stupid strategy of running two Republicans on the same ticket when one should have just bowed out. And it didn't really matter who, because, the Republican base was going to vote for whoever was on that ticket. So don't sit there and say the weather. Come on now. Because you can't say that, especially when you add in the votes from the other guy. She would have definitely won.
With the immigration policy. This is a state Senate race. They don't even get involved and engaged in that. But Republicans have to get out and vote. And they decided, hey, we're not going to do that, albeit the weather. Look, the Democrat won. He spent like $70,000, and the other two Republicans spent like $2.7 million. But Republicans still need to show up. But when you have 25,000 less people show up, guess what happens? Democrats squeeze through. So I think the answer in November will be quite different because they have to have another race that come November. But still, to suggest it has to do with immigration is just garbage analysis.
Okay, so you're right. This is a Texas.
And guys, like I said, this is not because of ICE. This isn't because Republicans don't like Trump. It's because they split the vote. And like I said, look, the disingenuousness of the left-wing media, I'm gonna be real with you, it knows no bounds. They will not sit here and tell you and just show you the ballot sheet and just be like, look, guys, as you see, this guy John Huffman wanted to stay in the race when he should have just gave up. Those two, basically 19,000 votes would have went over to her. She'd have had 62 and she'd have won. So what that dude's saying on Fox News is complete BS, because it's like, what you mean the weather? I mean, dog, 62,000, over 62,000 Republicans pulled up, but they had to choose between two Republicans. That's what happened. But for some reason, they don't want to take accountability for that. So it is what it is.
State Senate seat. But let's talk about the House, the Congress in Washington for a moment, because since 1938, the party in control of the White House has lost House seats come midterm election time, all but 2 midterm elections. So right now, the House is at 218, 214. If Democrats do take back the lower chamber, Jason, what will President Trump's final 2 years in office look like?
It's not fun to have,
This is what you guys also don't understand. This is a special election. So he has to win again in November, which he'll most likely lose, because now the Republicans are going to take that person off. And in November, it's going to go back red. So I know you guys want to celebrate right now, but this is only a temporary. He actually has to campaign now while running his Senate seat, and then once again win in November to extend his position. But guess what? He's going to lose because the Republicans won't make the same mistake by splitting the vote.
Have the White House and then have the other party.
I mean, like I said, look, bro, I don't know if you don't got any math skills or not, but I mean, let's be real. I'm holding my own side accountable, and you guys should be able to, add things up. I mean, I know you want to sit there and fantasize about a blue wave, but that's not what happened here. We had more Republicans that came out and voted. Like, there was 62,000 Republicans compared to the 56 Democrats. I mean, basically, yes, the Republican would have won if they didn't split the vote. So there is no blue wave. I'm be real with you. There'd be a blue wave if this guy wasn't there. Then sure, I'll give you that. But no, this only happened because they split the vote. I mean, you can sit there and fantasize as much as you want, but that's just not the reality.
Controlling Congress, it's not where you want to be. And look, Republicans and Democrats, they're out there raising money, but if Republicans want to stay in charge, they have to actually get out and vote, and then they need to do what they said they were going to do. If Republicans will just do basic things like pass the SAVE Act and get rid of the zombie filibuster, things that Senator Mike Lee is championing, those types of things, then they're going to be fine. But they're going to get ticked off and not show up to vote if they don't follow President Trump's lead and they don't do Republican things that they campaigned on last election.
So we are right now in the midst of a partial government shutdown. We say partial, but it's a big part. It's 78% of the government, including some of our most important government agencies. There's going to be a blame game. Republicans are going to blame Democrats and vice versa. Do you think that happening right now could impact the midterm elections?
Yeah, it depends how long it goes on. I tend to think that Schumer, I would hope, would have learned his lesson last time. It's really up to Democrats. Republicans can get it close, but if they can't pass these other hurdles, then Democrats are going to have to go back and explain yet again why they thought it was better to shut down the government than keeping it open. It really is a Chuck Schumer question.
It certainly is. And Mike Johnson is saying, oh my goodness, here we go again. And he's predicting the government to reopen tomorrow. So we'll be watching. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And what Bill was just referring to, guys, was this congressional race, this House seat in Texas. It was a Democrat seat, and then 2 Democrats were running for that seat. So non-controversial, although it does fill another Democrat spot, makes things even tighter for Republicans in Congress. But there is a state Senate race in Texas that just flipped from red to blue for the very first time since 1992. And there's a lot.
But all right, now let's see what the Dems are saying. Let's see what they're talking about. Oh, guys, make sure you double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support. But let's keep it going.
Ron DeSantis. This morning, there are Republicans across the country who are nervous. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis put this on Twitter. He said, special elections are quirky and not necessarily projectable, a general election. That said, a swing of this magnitude is not something that can be dismissed. Republicans should be clear-eyed about the political environment heading into the midterm. What?
Honestly, no, they should have better political strategy. Like, that was retarded. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, the Republicans in Texas, I don't know, like, what group chat y'all in, or like, I don't know what y'all said at the round table dinner, but this was dumb. Like, why did y'all split the vote? And then y'all want to sit here and make excuses like, oh, well, we need to do this. It was the weather. This guy literally said, oh, the weather in Texas is the problem. Well, like I said, I'm gonna keep showing y'all this because it reigns in my point. It wasn't the weather, bro. Over 62,000 Republicans came out to vote, but they had to choose between two Republicans. When the Dems came out to vote, they just had one choice. Maybe if the Dems were splitting the vote, we might have different results here. But no, they had one choice and they chose. For some reason, you gave the Republicans two. I have no idea why y'all thought that was a good strategy at all, but look where it got you.
Is he talking about? What has him and other Republicans so worried? CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton is here. And this is all about a special election for a Texas state Senate seat around Fort Worth.
That's exactly right. Texas 9, because what happened in Texas 9? It didn't just swing to the left. It took a rocket ship to the left. My goodness gracious, the Texas 9 Senate district election marches. This was a district that Donald Trump...
You see how disingenuously they're covering this? They're making it seem like, look, they're making it seem like this guy don't even exist. They're making it see, and look, the Republicans, they don't even want to admit their mistake. They're so embarrassed of their mistake that they don't even want to admit that this guy, John Huffman, exists right now. Because you see, when I showed it on Fox News, all they showed was this lady here and the guy, the Democrat. So it goes to show that, yeah, they're playing on the Dems, they're playing on the Republicans' mistake because they don't want to admit that they split the vote and got their ass whooped because of that. But guess what? Neither will the Dems sit here. They'll sit here and pretend like, oh, no, this is a blue wave when it's not. Because more Republicans actually came out to vote than Democrats. And if they didn't have to split the vote, then, of course, the Republican would have won. It's right there in the numbers. It's about as easy as that. So, no, guys, no blue wave.
Won by 17 points in 2024. The Democratic candidate in the special election on Saturday, won it by 14 points. That's an over 30-point shift to the left. Any Republican, unlike Ron DeSantis, who doesn't take this seriously, they should realize that this is very perilous. They ignore this result at their own peril. Ron DeSantis is right to say, hey, special elections can be quirky, but this ain't no quirk.
Congressman Pete Sessions from Texas.
So y'all not go mention the third guy in there to why it was such a 30-point shift because the vote was split up. Like, you're not gonna mention that whatsoever. This is why we got independent media guys like me, because they won't tell you the truth.
He told me, he said, no Democrat should ever win in North Texas like this. Although he also said, there was an ice storm, 31 points. That's not an ice storm.
No, that ain't no ice storm. If you ignore this, you're going to ice yourself out of a majority come the midterm.
Yeah. All right, when we look at these special elections, and this is something you and I talk about a lot and look at very closely in between the federal elections, what can they tell us?
Okay, so, you see this 31-point shift to the left, right? If this were just one election, that would be one thing. But it's the slew of special elections that together paint a picture, and it's a picture that Democrats should love and a picture that Republicans should be really worried about. Because what are we talking about here? Okay, the average 2025, 26 special election, Democrats are doing, get this, 12 points better. 12 points better than Kamala Harris did in 2024. That was a state special election that happened in Texas on Saturday. If you look at the federal special elections, this 12 points is actually north of 15 points on average. I was looking back through the history books. This looks a whole heck of a lot like what we saw during the 2017, 2018 cycle, where you saw these Democrats outperforming how Hillary Clinton did in 2016. And what did it forecast? It forecast a net gain of 40 seats for Democrats. And I remember back in Pennsylvania. Remember, there was that Southwestern, that was a congressional special election seat, but that was one in which the Democratic candidate was able to actually win in a deeply red Republican district. And that, of course, foretold big Democratic gains come 2018.
Foretells how? I mean, how frequently do these?
No, actually, y'all guys are going to be truly hurt. You guys are going to be truly hurt when it comes November and that place goes right back red, because they're going to take John Hoffman off the ballot, and it's only going to be that Republican and that Democrat. And how did that election look again? Oh, yes. 62,000 people voted for Republican, but they split the vote between two candidates, and about 54,000 voted for which Democrat. I'm sorry, guys, that's not a blue wave. Sorry, it's just an idiotic strategy. Honestly, I don't know why they did it, but it was a pretty dumb strategy employed by the Republicans in Texas. Not sure why they did it. I couldn't tell you why, but hey, they decided that was the best choice of action. Maybe they got a bit too cocky, but here we are.
Special elections foretell what happens in the midterms.
Okay, so you see this 12-point overperformance. You see this 31-point overperformance. But that don't mean nothing if it ain't forecastable to the midterm elections. So what are we looking at here? Well, take a look at special elections since all the way back in the 2005-2006 cycle. 5 out of 5 times the party that outperforms in the special elections goes on to win the U.S. House of Representatives. And this, of course, all paints a picture, right? Texas 9, the special elections, the history of special elections, in which Democrats look like they're in the catbird seat to take back the U.S. House come 2026 November.
Which is why Ron DeSantis and others are nervous this morning.
2026 November, I'm sorry, but it's going to flip back red in the special election, because this mistake right here won't do it. Yeah, and then shout out to this guy, because if there were not two Republicans seated, the Republican seat wouldn't change. The seat is only held until December, but in the next general election, it will stay Republican. Why? Because this dumbass mistake won't be made again. I mean, to be quite honest, yes, the Republicans literally thought that they can just ignore the Dem and just be like, look, man, it's just going to be between us. We'll win it regardless. This has been a red district for so long. We have nothing to worry about. Well, here's the problem. It's like I said, if you add these two up, that's about 62,000 people that voted compared to the 56,000. So what does that tell you? That no, there is no blue wave, because guess what? There isn't that more Dems did not come out to vote than Republicans. Like I said though, but hey, the way CNN's gonna spin it, they're gonna make you feel like there's a red wave happening, but no. But I'm gonna be honest with you, can Trump beat the curse of the midterms, which pretty much says that there's a Republican, then the Dems are gonna win the midterms, and if there's the Dems in office, then the Republicans are gonna win the midterm. Can he beat that curse? We'll see. But right now, if the Republicans keep on doing dumbass strategies like that, it's not looking pretty good for us.
They should be.
Thank you very
My
much.
boy Trump be going to jail.
Harry, will you put your first slide back up as I bring in
Oh, and shout out to my man Monty. He says the Republicans altogether are up 17 points across the nation. Yes, but you see how they're pointing out this point spot right here, though. And yeah, they're right. They're right about the numbers. They are. They're not lying to you about the numbers, but they're not telling you the whole story of what's happening on how they pretty much split the vote with the Republicans. Like, they're not telling you the whole story. And why? Because, well, be honest with you, Fox News is not even being real about it. Because I think, I'll be wrong, they seem to be a bit embarrassed. I would see the Republican Party being a bit embarrassed, seeing that this is such an obvious mistake that you shouldn't make. And I think we criticized the Dems for doing this once before, but it is what it is.
the Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington to talk more about this.
We was grilling them for doing this in New York.
Gentlemen, Congressman, thank you so much for being here. That what Harry and John were just talking about, this 31-point shift in a special election, a state Senate seat in Texas. You see that and you think what?
I think Republicans are in trouble, and we've got a real opportunity in the elections coming up this year. It becomes very clear Donald Trump's policies are doing great damage to this country, and the Republican Party is going along with every single one of them, whether you're talking about health care cuts, the tariffs, ICE terrorizing the people of Minneapolis and across the country. The president, doing things like, shutting down the Kennedy Center and tearing down the White House, acting more like a monarch than a democratically elected president. All of that has made Trump incredibly unpopular, number one.
No, like I said, it's just complete lies. It's complete lies. Like, oh, it's making Trump incredibly unpopular, and it's not. I'm sorry, but no, we don't got TDS like you guys. And no, we're not dissuaded by what's been going on in Minneapolis. We understand that that's the protesters turning obstructionists, getting themselves hurt. Like, we understand that. We wish it wouldn't happen, but we understand what's going on here. We're not dumb like y'all want us to be. But here's the problem. The Republicans employed a very dumb strategy that they don't want to hold themselves accountable for. We just heard the guy on Fox News talk about the weather. I'm just like, bro, no, it wasn't about the weather. It was just a really dumb strategy. But all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get off this for a little bit. I guess we're going to go ahead and get into the Epstein files. Might as well, because, that boy Prince Andrew done cooked himself. And if you don't believe me, man, check this out.
Bro, not Prince Andrew is so cooked after this latest drop, and we'll get to this disturbing image in a second. Things are so bad for this guy right now that the UK's own Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is now saying that Andrew should go to the US and testify in front of their Congress over his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. That is wild. Now, the most unsettling new information is these 3 pictures of the former prince kneeling over a young girl laying on the floor. Now, we don't know the context. We don't know whether she's conscious at the time. However, one picture does show her with her hand up, so she probably was. There's also some table-looking thing in the back which has towels on it and some man's feet sitting in a leopard print chair. And there are also emails to be aware of that are going viral showing someone named Brian Miller with USANYS, which stands for the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Southern District of New York, claiming that Prince Andrew was an accessory to a girl's gruesome death. However, an important detail to note that a lot of these viral posts are missing out is that a few weeks later, there were more emails that show that these people were sent a CD, and an official said it appears to us to be materials from a crazy person and, as such, does not need to be produced. Andrew himself has always and still does deny any wrongdoing. But moving on to the next names, see you there in a sec.
But all right, though, let's see what BBC got to say about it.
Pictures appearing to show Andrew Mountbatten Windsor crouched over an unidentified woman are featured in the latest disclosure of files linked to the late American sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah, and shout out to my man Jay. He's like, don't end up like Virginia, vote red in the midterms. Yeah, because we're not going to feel sorry for you when you're complaining about affordability, and then we look into it and we see that, your governor done raised your taxes. I'm sorry, we're not going to feel bad for you. We're not going to feel bad for you if that person in your district raised sale taxes. We're not going to feel bad for you. I'm sorry. It's just going to have to be on y'all. Y'all wanted to vote blue because of the F Trump agenda? Trust me, because it's not about affordability. It's not about affordability. I'll tell you that right now. It's really just about F Trump with most of you guys.
Epstein. The images are among more than 3 million documents published by the Trump administration. It's not known where they were taken. Mr. Mountbatten Windsor has been asked for comment, but he hasn't responded. He's previously denied any wrongdoing. The US Justice Department said this was the final batch of material that would be published. John Sudworth has the details.
In and amongst the more than 180,000 images released are these pictures showing the then Prince Andrew kneeling over and touching a female whose identity has been hidden. There's no context, location, or date provided. Andrew has always denied any criminal wrongdoing, but this latest batch of files once again contains items raising serious questions of judgment, not least an email exchange from 2010, long after his close friend Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted of sexual offences involving children, suggesting he meet with a 26-year-old Russian woman in London who he might enjoy having dinner with. Andrew replies he would be delighted to see her and adds, will she be bringing a message from you? Please give her my contact details to get in touch. Epstein writes back, she's 26, Russian, clever and beautiful, and yes, she has your email.
We will continue.
Wow.
The new files also contain further revelations about Peter Mandelson, who last year lost his job as British ambassador to Washington after it became clear his friendship with Epstein had been deeper than previously known. They include the claim that the sex offender sent Lord Mandelson's then partner, now husband, Ronaldo Avila da Silva, £10,000 to cover the cost of an osteopathy course. Lord Mandelson has described his friendship as a most terrible mistake and says he wasn't aware of Epstein's crimes. There's little, though, to pose a real threat to President Trump, apart from some unsubstantiated allegations which the FBI had already ruled out, nor, his administration says, anything to prove a wider conspiracy. But with so many documents withheld or redacted, Jeffrey Epstein's victims do not believe they've yet been given the whole truth.
When the president signed the bill in November, it was to release all the files. All the files need to be released. They haven't been released. So that's what closure looks like. That's what justice looks like, whether anyone's prosecuted or not. Get the full information out there so the public, the survivors, and everyone can really know what's going on.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of confusion around the Epstein files. Now, I ain't gonna lie, these pictures of Andrew is pretty damning at this point. It's like, bro, you're on your knees. There's a little girl in front of you. I mean, I don't even know how you can explain this. So you might just want to go to America and face that jail time, like, honestly. But for other guys, like what was going on with Elon, how he's mentioned, Trump, how he's mentioned, these are all stories that's honestly never been corroborated or anything like that. And we're going to see what comes of it. I mean, trust me, there's a lot of people mentioned in the Epstein files, a lot. Like, well, 5 rows of hedge fund billionaires. I mean, sheiks, presidents, movie stars, like celebrities, all that good stuff. It's pretty crazy. Like, check this out.
There are so many allegations made against Trump and many others in these new Epstein files. So the best way to go through them is person by person. Part 1, Donald Trump. Now, his name does come up a lot, to be more precise, over 1,000 times. In fact, the guy who just produced Melania Trump's new documentary, Brett Ratner, he was actually seen in the files as well, hugging a young girl next to Epstein. Now, just so you know, most of the Trump mentions in these files, there's no allegations of wrongdoing. And they're more like things from news articles that Epstein was referencing in his emails to other people. However, there is one document in particular that has raised a lot of concern online. So last year, the FBI compiled a list of allegations that were made against Trump that they received in 2020 from a tip line that they set up, allowing anyone from the public to phone in and report a crime. And here we see a lot of disturbing allegations against Trump. One of the complaints details a woman who says that she was R-word, I can't say it on here, by Trump when she was just 13 years old. One of the complaints also alleged that Trump and Epstein held, quote, calendar girl parties at Mar-a-Lago, where Trump would auction off young girls and do horrific things to them. A different complaint alleges that Trump's golf course in California was the center of a trafficking ring between 95 and 96, and that some of the girls went missing and were allegedly buried at the facility. The files also include an FBI interview with one of Epstein's victims who stated that Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, once presented her to Trump at a party, and then apparently Ghislaine making it very clear to Trump that this girl was available, with Ghislaine allegedly telling the girl, oh, I think he likes you, aren't you lucky, this is great. Now, there are a lot of tips that the FBI received, most of which are so graphic, I can't even repeat them on here. But here's the thing, in the documents themselves, the FBI say that none of these allegations can be substantiated, and that these claims had no supporting evidence to follow up on further. But ultimately, it's up to you guys to look at the facts and make your own minds up. But next, in part 2, we're talking about Bill Gates.
Man, I mean, way to leave it up to us.